Meanwhile, airstrikes in northern Sinai have reportedly killed 19 members of Egypt's Islamic State affiliate. The Egyptian military says among those killed are 3 of the group's leaders. ISIL this week claimed an attack on security forces near St. Catherine's Monastery in the South Sinai. It is the latest incident in a spate of Islamist violence targeting Egypt's Christian minority in recent months. Egypt is tightening security ahead of a visit by Pope Francis next week. The Pope's visit was prompted by suicide bombings this month on 2 Christian churches. The incident marked one of the bloodiest days for the country's Christians in decades. Well, for more on these developments, we're now joined by CGTN's Yasser Hakim in Cairo. Yasser, just tell us more, firstly, about these militants who were killed in this Sinai airstrike.
Yes, like you said, there were 19. A number of them are part of what's called the Ansar Baytul Maqdis group, militant group that has pledged allegiance to ISIL and has been operating in Egypt for the last 5 to 6 years. And one of the killed was actually the leader of this group in northern Sinai. So this is considered a success. A successful air raid by the Egyptian forces on the militants there. 4 vehicles were bombed, hideouts were also bombed, and a camp, a militants camp, which included a large number of weapons and artillery and bombs was also attacked by the Egyptian forces and taken over by the forces, and those inside were killed, the militants there. And like you said, the perpetrator of the St. Catherine Monastery checkpoint was also killed on another raid on the same day. So all around it was a successful operation by the military trying to complete or continue its crackdown on the militants on the borders of Egypt on the east and north of the country.
Indeed, and of course that battle against the militants will no doubt be a topic of discussion now that, of course, the U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis is in the country. Tell us more about what's really brought him to Cairo.
Well, first of all, he just left a while ago. He finished his visit, which was only a few hours. Obviously, on top of his agenda, like you said, is terrorism, and especially trying to bring Egypt and the U.S. back to closer ties with more military cooperation, something that has not been happening during the Obama administration. And this is the shift in relations after Trump took over and the Egyptian president visited Donald Trump in Washington in early April. And this is now a step to get even closer ties. What we're talking about, more military aid from the U.S. to Egypt to help in its crackdown on terrorism, logistical and intelligence support as well from both sides, as well as working on collaboration to discuss issues or to handle issues in the Middle East, terrorism in Libya, in violence in Syria, Yemen and Iraq. This was also discussed, how to work together on trying to eradicate terrorism in all these countries, not just in Egypt, and trying to forge some kind of an alliance in which the U.S. would take part of, and in the region that would sort of unite and have an Arab common military force that would try to eradicate or crack down on terrorists and terrorism in the region, not just using foreign or Western intervention, but using Arab forces and Arab cooperation as well. And obviously Egypt was also trying to discuss the Muslim Brotherhood, the outlawed Muslim Brotherhood. Egypt is trying to get the U.S. to declare it a terrorist group, as it is declared in Egypt and several other countries. And this was also a topic of discussion. Egypt sees that the Muslim Brotherhood is the core of all the terrorism operations and the terrorist groups that have been established in the last few years. They all originate back to the Muslim Brotherhood, and this is also one of the topics that were discussed by the two sides, and both had statements after the meeting written statement saying that they are continuing their strong and close efforts to fight terrorism, whether through the military means or through other means as well.
Well, thank you so much. Yasser Hakim joining us there live from Cairo.